Hello friends, I am Seed Hero, and today I want to go over some of my thoughts on the new Pokemon Legends Arceus game. I just finished up my playthrough on YouTube, and frankly I loved it. And I feel like it got a lot of negative press because it's not quite up to par with other games that are similar as far as graphics go. And while that's true, it has a lot of other amazing things going for it. Very happy that Game Freak and the Pokemon Company finally decided to innovate a little bit. Anyways, I just wanted to go through this point by point in as spoiler-free a method as I can, and just go over some things that I liked and a handful of things that I felt they could have done infinitely better. User experience. Frankly, this is something that Pokemon has always been kind of iffy on, and they did not nail it in this. Some of the good things: there are very few encounters that you cannot avoid. There's no longer really the having to walk through the tall grass the whole way back and have to fight 30 Pokemon just to get home, which is a great thing. It's great. The absolute biggest thing that they did was make the game quick. So many things in Pokemon were just too slow. You would find a random encounter, it would take you into a battle screen. You'd have to do all this, send out your Pokemon, and then the other Pokemon gets sent out too, and then there's the really slow battle between you, and then after it's finished, it's like, hey, here's your experience. If you have XP share, it's like, hey, here's experience for Bidoof, here's experience for Magikarp, here's experience for Ponyta, here's experience for Vulpix. Hey, Vulpix leveled up. Hey, Vulpix got a new move. Hey, congratulations, you won the fight. Finally get to go back out and, walk through the tall grass until you have to do it again. And this one, after you finish your battle, even before the battle is finished, you can just meander away. And it's great. It's so great. It's so great. I can't believe they implemented it. It's so great. After the battle's over, EXP share is like permanently on, right? But it's not like there's a big pop-up and it's slow. It is not slow. There is a little pop-up in the corner, in that corner, that tells you how much XP all of your Pokemon earned. It doesn't stop you to inform you. If you're not looking, you might even miss it. Love that change. I love that change so much. So, for a couple of bad things in the user experience, this game has the worst button mapping layouts I have ever experienced in a game. Y is plus, which is essentially start. Y is the start button to summon your mount. Why? In order to go into your inventory, it's up on the D-pad. Why? In order to go to your Pokedex, it's down on the D-pad. Why? I don't get it. I really just, I don't understand at all. The number of times that I was like crouching in a bush, like hiding, being super sneaky. And the number of times I was doing that, and I'm like, you know what, I need to check my inventory real quick. Like make sure I got enough Pokeballs, make sure everything's healed up before I send out a Pokemon into battle, right? Wake up, game. We're not done. So I need to go into my inventory. So you know what I do? The only thing any self-respecting gamer does is I press start to go to my inventory. You know what happens when you're in a bush and then you summon a giant weirdeer and hop on its back? You're not hiding anymore. That's what happens. Beyond those, there are some issues with the Pokebox. Your box gets gigantic. In other Pokemon games, it's like, hey, catch one Bidoof. Congratulations, it's added to the Pokedex, you're done. In this one, they want you to catch multiple. of like everything, like a lot of everything. And because of that, your Pokebox gets very full. It gets very cluttered. There are ways to release, and it's encouraged. But the main form of quests in this game are giving someone a Pokemon or having a Pokemon in your party. So it doesn't, if you decide to release everything, which I did early on in the game, I got close to hitting like 6 or 7 full boxes. And I'm like, you know what? Now's the time. Let's release everybody. And then the next day I'm like, you know what? Let's do some quests. So I went to do some quests. And someone's like, hey, you need to have a Bidoof in your party. Okay, let me go get it out. I don't have any more Bidoofs, guys. I had no more Bidoofs. I released them all. Why wouldn't I? Somebody wanted a Geodude so they can make pickles. I didn't have any more Geodudes. I had to go catch those too. So it really encourages you to just keep everything, which would be fine if there was a sorting feature of any sort. Whether it's sort by number, sort by Pokemon, sort by level. Those would all be great. But there isn't. They also encourage you to use every Pokemon for at least a little bit. Just a little bit. And they want you to see that a Pokemon has used strong moves, has used agile moves, has used a specific type of move. And in order to do that, you are generally the one that has to use those. So you need to take these Pokemon out. There is a search feature, so you can find these Pokemon if you want to. Not a big deal. But once you find it, you have to replace one of your main Pokemon, and if you're not careful where you place it, and this happened for us a handful of times in our playthrough, if you are not careful where you place it, I don't know where it is. I don't know where it went. And if you do this with 3 or 4 different Pokemon, all of a sudden you have to remember off the top of your head what was your team before. You can't sort by levels, so you have no idea like what Pokemon you were using just based on searching by level. Like, okay, my Crobat is my strongest Pokemon. Like if I sort by level, I'll be able to find him right at the tip top, right? Can't do it. That's something that I really hope. That I feel like that's super easily patchable. And if they add that in, I would be so happy. Because that was a huge time sink for me. Mostly off stream, off camera. Inventory limitation. I can kind of understand why they did it. But I don't like that they did it. I don't generally have a problem with it. However, in this one, it felt like it was discouraging experimentation. There were quite a few different items and lure types and things that you could throw at Pokemon to stun them so that you could catch them easier. A bunch of different types of Pokeballs, a bunch of different types of crafting materials. And I ended up, because inventory was so limited, every time I went to the box, I would just throw in everything that I didn't know what it did. Like, my current strategy was working totally fine. Why would I want to carry around these 40 balls of mud? I'm not going to throw them in anything. I can just throw a berry and then they'll walk over to the berry. Why would I want cake? I'm not going to lure a Pokemon that like cake in particular when Oran berries work on 90% of everything. While I understand and normally I'm a fan, I was not a fan in this game. Moving on. Audio. 1. Being able to hear Pokemon in the distance. Kind of amazing, actually. Kind of cool. You don't always notice it until you're like really paying attention and you're like, wow, the ambiance in this game. Walking through town and you can just hear the Bidoofs in the distance. awesome. Really, really neat little attention to detail that I was not expecting, and I really liked. The soundtrack in this game. When you are wandering, it's very, very light background-esque music. It always works, but it's very light. It's not amazing, but it's just the soundtrack that might play in the background when you in real life are wandering around a field. However, when you get into Pokemon battles, not just any Pokemon battles, when you get into a trainer battle or a boss battle, the soundtrack for those, the theme songs for each different trainer is phenomenal. So good. It is so good. I cannot believe it. Cannot believe it. Now the story. It wasn't too amazing. It's a Pokemon game, right? It's a Pokemon game. You're not really playing it for the story. The story's nice. It's a good addition. But it could use some work. My favorite thing about the story, though, is that they give you a reason to, quote, catch them all, right? I can't imagine I'm alone in the fact that I've tried to catch them all in the past, and it just hasn't worked. I just don't care. There's no reason to do it. But in this one, it feels attainable. It's kind of fun. And finally, they give you a reason. Turn on, game. They give you a reason, an actual story reason, a promise of a little bit more. If you take those extra steps and complete the Pokedex, which we did in our playthrough. It was a lot of fun. A lot of fun. Gameplay. Gameplay of this game. I made like a full list of things that I liked, things that I didn't like for each of these different points. Gameplay, I have 0 cons in gameplay. The gameplay in this game is 100% where it's at. It's so much fun. So catching Pokemon is addicting and rewarding. Finding different Pokemon out in the wild, seeing what you can find, learning the different times of day that they come out, finding all the different little ecosystems. When you find a new Pokemon that's higher up in level, when you unlock Ultra Balls, all of a sudden you can catch some stuff, right? You can catch some cool stuff. God, it's so rewarding, so addicting. It's a lot of fun. Now, difficulty, pretty easy for the most part. Again, it's a Pokemon game. However, there are a handful of spikes to where the game gets very, very difficult. It's not entirely a bad thing. I really, really enjoyed the difficulty spikes. For those who are unable to complete it or don't really care about hitting those difficulty spikes, they implemented a feature that lets you continue where you left off rather than restarting a fight. And I really appreciate that they did that. Rather than toning down the entire game, giving the option to tone it down if you need to. Great work. Great work, Game Freak. Excellent way of implementing that. They give you methods of travel. I mentioned being able to mount a Pokemon earlier. There are a handful of different Pokemon that you get to mount throughout the game, and each one kind of unlocks a new dimension of travel for you. And being able to travel to new areas that you've only really been able to see before, it's very rewarding and very fun. Finally, the alphas. Let's talk about the alphas. They're big. They're big. You can catch them. When you catch them, they're still big. They're huge. You know how much fun it is having a regular Crobat? Or in our game, in our playthrough. In our playthrough, we had a Luxray. And then we found an Alpha Luxray. and we caught it. Going from a normal Luxray to an Alpha Luxray, and it's gigantic, that's so much fun. It's so cool. It's so cool. Getting to see it in this open world format, where everything is scaling directly against everything else. The large Pokemon are very noticeably large. And it's very rewarding visually. And I absolutely love it. I love how they implemented alphas. Handful of final thoughts here, guys. They innovated the old formula. It was very welcome. It was very welcome. They have not innovated anything in decades. I really hope they continue with this formula a little bit longer. Now, the graphics. I mentioned at the start that the graphics were a point of contention and something that people were mad about. The graphics are not amazing. There's a lot of copy-pasted assets. Hell, even in the opening screen, you can tell. Like, it's not... Like, it's pretty, they did a decent job. But it's not Breath of the Wild. It is definitely not Breath of the Wild. There are two graphical points that did bother me. Water. Water is number one. For whatever reason, when you had like your Pokemon and then water was the backdrop, it looked weird, and like there's a little white outline that clearly was not intentional. But that and render distance. Render distance is the big one. In a game where you're trying to explore and find new Pokemon, I would have loved to have been able to just climb up to the highest point I could find and then look around for interesting Pokemon that I wanted to go explore. And you could do that with like landscapes. You could find new landscapes like that. But the Pokemon didn't actually render until you got a little bit closer. And that felt a little bit unfortunate to me. Finally, there are no gyms in this game. There are no gyms. This game takes place in the past, before Pokemon gyms became a thing. The absence of trainer battles was noticed. There were only, as far as trainer battles go, there were three. There were three big ones. And I think they were the highlight of the game for me. As far as like story-wise goes, and actual Pokemon battling fun. Battling wild Pokemon isn't generally fun unless it's an alpha, and you were trying to catch an alpha. That was fun. But the trainer battles, the very few that there were a ton of fun, and I really wish that they would have implemented more of those. Alright guys, overall I absolutely loved it. Highly recommend it to anyone who has some time to kill, doesn't mind getting lost in a game for a little while. The younger audience, I think, will absolutely adore this. If you have time as an older audience member, if you have felt the more recent Pokemon games have all felt very uninspired, this one might be for you, really. Anyways, guys, I would love it if you would let me know your thoughts, if there's anything I missed, or if you have a comment on one of my thoughts, in the comments below. I am Seed Hero. I release Let's Play videos on YouTube daily. I also stream on Twitch at twitch.tv/IamSeedHero. You can find all of my links below. If you made it till the end, please like the video. Consider subscribing. It's very helpful to a new channel like mine. Now, thank you guys all so very much. I hope to hear from you soon. Take care.